I'm your host, Michelle Marchant Johnson, and I'm super excited today about our guest, and that is the lovely and amazing Jill Crosby. Welcome, Jill.
Thanks, Michelle. Great to be here.
So happy to have you here because I think you have a really unique expertise that I think so many people want to have more knowledge about, and I'm really excited about featuring your wisdom here today. So before we jump in though, Jill, I just want to give everyone a little bit of a formal introduction of you, and then we'll jump right in. Jill Crosby is the owner, founder of the Conscious Dating Network, the oldest, largest network of exclusively conscious single green dating sites on the internet, featuring her flagship site, spiritualsingles.com, which launched in 2000, and greensingles.com, added to the network in 2014. There are several sites that share the same large database of members, like different rivers all flowing into the same ocean, which is a true win-win for members, and CDN, the Conscious Dating Network. Her network of dating sites has helped thousands of singles become couples over the 19 years, which makes it very gratifying work, as she truly cares about her members and always holds the energy for them to succeed. Jill is a dynamic public speaker, workshop retreat leader, and hypnotherapist. With an open heart and love, LOVE in capitals there, as her top priority in life, she coaches singles about self-love, being truly present, manifesting and staying in the divine flow. She's known for her candor, vulnerability, down-to-earth honesty, and humor as she helps singles thrive in the world of online dating and ultimately meet their life partners. Jill also owns spiritualevents.com, where event facilitators can upload and promote their events internationally. So welcome once again, Jill.
Thank you, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Oh, so happy to have you here. So we're going to talk today about something that I know so many people want to have a deeper understanding of, and that's how to make online dating work for you. So to start us out, Jill, I wonder, since you are the founder of these various sites, these various online dating sites, I wonder if you can tell us from your perspective what you consider to be some of the advantages of online dating.
Sure, yeah, that's actually a really good question. And it's one of the reasons why I started Spiritual Singles actually 20 years ago. That's a little outdated bio. Have to update that. Because if you're just relying on randomly meeting somebody, bumping into them, it is pretty random. And yeah, we use the law of attraction, and it certainly can happen, and it does. But I always thought online dating was so smart because you have this whole pool of people who are single, who want a relationship. And in my instances on my sites, they're spiritually conscious and or environmentally conscious. And so to have a pool of people that are in the same, that have the same priorities in life as you, as the dater, it makes sense. Like, why not have thousands to choose from over just, oh, maybe I'll randomly bump into them. And and a lot of people these days aren't going out as much. They're more on their computers and their phones, which makes it even more difficult to meet someone in person. So I just think it's more efficient. Like, it's always been more efficient, and it's even nowadays is even more so.
Yeah. And I think that you have the opportunity to connect with people that you otherwise would never meet or bump into in real life because they're not going to be in the same places that you're going to be.
Well, yeah, that's actually a super good point, because that happens all the time, where we have a lot of long distance success stories. And they always say, oh my God, we absolutely never would have met without your site. There's like no way their paths would have crossed, but yet they're so perfect for each other. They're total soulmates. They're madly in love, and they get married, and they're super happy. And one moves to where the other lives, and it's not that big of a deal. It's like, some people think, oh my gosh, long distance dating, what a pain in the butt. And it kind of is in the beginning. but you just video chat. You start video chatting and get to know each other without the physical part getting in the way, which is pretty good. You actually get to know each other before you jump into bed. And so, yeah, it works. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then the other thing I think is really great about it too is, it can take a lot of effort sometimes to go out into the real world, and you can be connecting with people on your couch in your pajamas, whatever time of day or night, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right. So that makes it convenient. So I want to ask you some questions that I most commonly get from women that I work with and people that I talk to out there that maybe have tried online dating or are thinking about trying online dating for the first time, because I really want to tap into your expertise here. So one question that comes up all the time is, what are the most important kind of photographs to have for an online dating profile? First of all, we're going on the assumption here, Jill, that your photos are really important, right?
Well, and they are. I mean, think about it when people, and especially more so on like sites like Tinder, headshots are really important because that's the main thing people see. At least on my site, they actually see the full profile. Or, well, on the first time they, like in the search results, they'll see the headshot. And then they'll see like a few little things about them, like what type of spirituality they have, and like 3 or 4 different, like if they want help with their kids, their age range, things like preference, things like that. But regardless, the headshot is still super important. So you're right. That's a good base assumption that you've made there, and it's true. And so what kind of headshot, what kind of photos is the next question, right? So
yes,
the headshot, number one, has to be really good in the fact that it has to look like the person. Number one.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Right. Not be 10 years old or have sunglasses on or something or be blurry. So good quality photo, like high resolution, have your eyes showing. Bright, solid colors are helpful. Not too busy of a background. Like I wouldn't take a headshot with my background right now, for example. This is my little house that I'm living in the Caribbean now, and it's too busy. But I didn't have time to really get a good solid background, and I should show you the Caribbean in a minute, but let's see. But regardless, you want it like a clean background, like not too much distracting things. You want to focus on you. So yeah, that's important. And bright colors are helpful too, and solids. Again, prints can be distracting away from your face. Like, oh, what's going on there? And you want everything focused up here on your face. And definitely a great smile is, it's inviting. It's more welcoming. I mean, if I'm taking a picture of myself right now and I'm on for my profile and I'm like, I see some like that. They look like they're pissed off, or I'm smiling. I mean, what's more inviting? It's going to be the smile. So that's what you want to put out. And I'll give you the best tip ever is and I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to as I know you're married, talking to our listeners, our watchers, viewers, that when you're taking your selfie, hold the camera up just a little bit higher, not much, just a little bit higher than your head. And so you look up slightly, smile, and think of the guy, of your future man. Like pretend like you're just smiling at him and you're sending out that clarion call. Here I am, baby. Just put it out there and know it's done. So as you're taking that picture, just think of that. It's for you. It's, totally for you, and just put it, because it's energy, right? I feel it right now just talking about it. It's energy, and you're putting that energy into that photograph and knowing that he's going to feel it. He's going to get it. So when he sees that picture of you, he's going to go, oh, something's going to nudge there, and he's going to go, yes, that's it. That's her.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that tip. I kind of got the goosebumps when you were talking about that because I felt the energy of that too. When
Right?
you're not only smiling and looking at the camera, but you're actually thinking of that man, that guy, and like smiling as though it's like he's right there. And the camera angle thing, I think, is an important tip you're talking about there too, Jill, because it helps so we don't look like we have like three chins, right?
Right, exactly.
It's a
And
more flattering angle, and it also opens up your eyes a little more if you're looking up slightly too.
right, right. Yeah, and I've seen extreme ones where they put it like above them, and
Yeah.
that's too much. Like, don't do that. Just a little bit is fine. And then for the additional pictures on my site, people can upload 2 additional pictures, photos without paying. And then when they upgrade, they can upload up to 20, which is great to
Yeah.
have lots. So for the extra pictures, it's really important to have at least one full length shot.
Yeah.
Because, and no matter what you look like, if you think you're too skinny or too fat or whatever, don't worry about it. Just, sexy is sexy no matter what size you are. And it's an energy, it's a vibe. It's, people want, we're talking to men right now. We're talking to straight women. So I'll use that in vernacular. But men want a companion who's fun, who's playful, who brings out their funness, because sometimes they can get so serious and so in their head, right? So
Yeah.
they need us to bring out that joy and that love and that funness. So you want a full body shot, and know that it's more than just it's more than just your body. It's who you are. It's your soul. It's your energy. So again, when you're usually you have someone take a picture of you for the full length shot, because that's hard to do. Even if you have a really long selfie stick, it's hard to get the selfie stick out of the way. You can do it. I've done it.
Really? Wow. I had no idea you could even do it.
You can. You need a long one, and it's tricky, but you can do it. And a full length one's good, and then other ones too, like maybe when you're on vacation, or you're doing yoga or horseback riding or something that you love. Maybe you play the drums, whatever it is, walking on the beach, just something that you love that's you specifically. And more headshots are good too, different expressions, maybe a Halloween costume. That's always fun for a profile pic. Get creative with it, because that's, the more unique and interesting it is, you want people engaged and looking at your pictures and then reading the profile. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, if we go on the theory that a picture paints 1,000 words, we can think about maybe the kind of pictures that, like, as you said, represent some of your passions or some of your interests that might tell someone something about you as well.
Right, exactly. Because you're writing in the profile part, but the pictures are telling about your life too. Like if you have pets, it's nice to show a picture of you and your dogs or cats or whatever, horses, whatever you have, because that's part of your life and that's important to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I also really appreciated what you said about having your pictures actually look like you and be current, because I think that's one of the most common complaints that we hear, right, is that the pictures didn't look anything like the person in real life. In fact, I think I saw a little meme on Facebook that said, if you show up on a date and you look nothing like your profile pictures, you're buying me drinks until you do, right?
Yeah, I've seen that one. It's great. It's so true.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So that's important.
It is. I'll coach members. Like sometimes I'll even see someone online and maybe I interacted with them or they sent an email in the past. And so I know, I know a lot of the members just from doing this for so long. And I told one guy the other day, I'm like, dude, I have seen that same picture up for years. Like, upload a new picture. You cannot look like that anymore. It's just impossible. Please do yourself a favor. Because, you don't want to show up at a dating and it's like walk right by each other.
Exactly. Don't even recognize each other from the picture. So those are some really, really good tips on the pictures and the importance of pictures. And so then moving to the written part of the profile, this is a question that women ask me and that is, do men actually even read profiles or do they just look at pictures? Because I've had women say they think the men just look at pictures and they don't even read based on what they write to them.
Right. No, men don't give a shit about what we write. No, just kidding. No, no, it depends on the guy. Honestly, it just depends on the guy. Most of the members on my site, because it's conscious and spiritual and green, they actually want to have a lot in common. They want to find someone who they're attracted to, and the rest is good too. They're not looking for a hookup for a one-night stand. Generally, I mean, sure, there's probably a few, but overall, they're wanting a relationship, and they know that if you don't have the commonality and those interests and that spark of just the matching of chemistry and everything else, then it's not good enough. So I would say on a lot of dating sites, the men don't read profiles.
On the swipe right, swipe left kind of sites, right?
Right. We won't mention any names, Tinder, but
right.
But on my side, spiritual singles and green singles are the two primaries. And you hit this in the intro that, and it should be clarified because we'll have women from all different, lots of my different sites. So for anyone new who's not a member yet, you can join any site. So just join spiritual singles or green singles, and you automatically have access to all the members on all the sites. It's like what Michelle was saying, like different rivers flowing into the same sea or different doors into the same house. The database is one big house. And so it's just for marketing purposes that there are different sites, and some are privately labeled and marketed by third parties, and some are marketed by me. So just to clarify that. But yeah, anyway, back to profiles, sorry.
Yeah, which is great because it gives people more access to more people in terms of who they might be able to interact with. So that's really great. And I'm glad you mentioned that because it may not have been really clear to some of the people listening if they're not as familiar with your sites yet. Right.
And we have success stories that one's from spiritual singles, one's from green singles, and they don't even know it. When you're on the site, you can't tell who's from where, which is intentional because it doesn't matter. And because we have enough questions on the profiles that filter, and you can do searches and match your matchmaking preferences to filter who you want to see. We're one of the few sites, we're a little bit old school in the fact that we actually allow members to be in charge of who they see.
I like that.
By creating their filters. Like other sites that are those swipe ones, it's just people just come up, and maybe there's a distance filter, but that's about it. I mean, you can't filter even on your particular spiritual belief or kids or anything. So you can be matched with guys who want kids when you don't, and vice versa. So that are really basic, important things. So Yeah, because your life values are really key to choosing a partner. You want to have values that are aligned. That, like if one wants to have children and one doesn't, that's going to be a rough spot to work out if that's important to on both sides, right? Right, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So as far as the written profile, assuming that a man is going to read it, which hopefully they do on your sites and on other sites out there, at least some men, if they're a little deeper than just the physical, swipe. What's 2 or 3 things you think that a woman might want to put in her profile that you think might be interesting or inviting? What suggestions would you have around that?
Well, even just to go back to what we just said, the headshot, number 1, make sure that's good for starters, because that will be the eye-catching starter. Right. But it's like having a good title to an article.
Right.
You want a good headline. That's what the headshot's about. And then in actually writing, the more genuine and real that you can be, the better, and the less standardized. Avoid the standard, long walks on the beach, holding hands, blah, blah, blah. Who gives Sure, we all love that. So
Mhm.
what makes you different? What makes you unique? Maybe what makes you a little quirky? Um, Even what are some of the things you could be working on? You've got to be careful there because you can't trust everybody online right away. So you don't want to present too many vulnerabilities first. Um, so be careful about that one. But quirkiness is fun. Humor is fantastic.
Oh,
If
yeah.
right, if you naturally have a good sense of humor and you can incorporate that in your writing a little bit, not trying too hard. I just like to write, and whatever comes out naturally, if it's good and funny, I'll leave it in. Whether I'm writing an article or working on a profile, helping somebody, whatever it might be. But that humor is important. Even if you say something that's not true as a joke, like what I did with you about the men not reading, like they don't give a shit about what you write. It's like you can kind of catch people off guard, and that gets their attention, and then they'll read. Wait a minute, that's it. Well, nobody says that, and then they'll read further. So things like that are great to incorporate if possible. Humor doesn't come naturally to everybody, so you're being genuine and real, and just sharing exactly who you are and what you're looking for is the number one most important thing. And a lot of people tell me when they're working on their profile, because we have so many great essay questions, that it's like a soul searching exercise.
Yeah, I
It
bet.
helps, yeah, it helps them to really get clear on what is important. And I think it's important to write down, like when you're talking about the person you'd like to attract, that you write down 5 to 10 of your top must-have things, or traits, qualities, feelings. Like how you feel is super important. How he makes, when you're with him, how do you feel? And because that's all good for the law of attraction, when you can really
Yeah.
get clear on what you want and then be grateful in advance that it's done. That's the other part of it. And then get on that profile or get on the site and use it and be proactive and contact people. And yeah.
Yeah, well, therein is a big key, right? Actually using it.
Funny how that works.
Funny how that works. And I think, the tip you gave about when you're taking the picture and you're thinking about the person that you're wanting to invite in, when you're taking that selfie, I also think that you can, like when you're writing your profile, you talked about, imagining how you'd feel with this person. I think you can almost like write the profile as though you're writing it to this person that you want to invite in, right?
Totally. Yes, totally. And feel like as you're writing it, especially the description about the type of relationship you'd like to create and the type of person, the first 3 essays are describe yourself, personality, that sort of thing. And then the second one is describe the type of person you'd like to meet. And then the third one is describe the type of relationship you would like to create. So those second 2 are really good for that, to envision the type of person you want to be with and then the type of relationship, and write it like a clarion call, like we would be doing this and we would do this and how we would feel, and really in as if it's already done. And then when he reads it, he'll recognize it, and know that when you're writing it, like I'm writing this for him to recognize this. So right for my guy, my person to recognize this and know it when he reads it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So here's a question that I get all the time, Jill, and I want to hear what you have to say about this. Should women make the first move online? And if so, what should they say in the first message?
Yes, they should. Yes. And I say that with experience because 20 years of doing this and thousands of success stories. I talk to a lot of them. I email with a lot of them. And I always ask, well, who contacted whom first? Because I want to know. It's like my own little tally and experiment. And I'd say about half the time, women contacted the men first. So it works. It's fine. Don't be afraid of it. You can send a personally written message. And I think we talked about this on one of your past interviews with me, that I use a little acronym, RCA, to remember what to say when to help people remember. So R's respond to something that they've written in their profile, something that kind of turns you on, jazzes you up, like, yeah, oh, that's so cool that you have dogs. That's amazing. Like, and then compliment, give them a compliment on something that's, that you really appreciated about their profile or them, or wow, you do yoga, or you're an environmental engineer. Like, wow, I bet you really do a lot of good for the environment. What, and then ask a question, follow up with a question like, what's your focus of, what's your primary focus with that? Or what kind of dogs do you have? Or, anything, because just getting the conversation going is important, right? So ending and you want it short. Like, I've seen some people where they'll write emails, like the first email to someone is a freaking novel, and don't do that, ladies, don't do it. Please keep it short and sweet, because a guy will open that up, and even if you're gorgeous, he'll open that up and he'll just go like, oh my God. Like, sometimes, especially with our busy lives, I know when I get a super long email from someone, it's like their first email to me. I'm like, not even on the site, even just in business, right? It's like, oh God, I got to come back to that. I don't even want to read it right now because I don't have the time to respond. So
yeah, good point.
Right? Think of that, like short and sweet, 3 sentences is great. The RCA, respond, compliment, ask, 1 sentence each. Maybe, a couple more is fine, but a short paragraph at the most. And just to ping him and see if there's some interest there, and to pique his curiosity a little bit. And maybe it's something you have in common, when you respond to something like, oh my God, I have 2 dogs too, and they're both Great Danes also. Like, oh, how rare is that? Or whatever it is, right? Something that he'll want to respond to as well. Like, oh, wow, you have Great Danes too. That's crazy. Not many people do, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, I love this RCA thing, because I think that gives you a simple model to follow that you can keep in mind. And I like to think of sending the first message as though it's like the online version of smiling and making eye contact from across the room. You're basically saying, hey, I'm open, I'm friendly to be in conversation with you. It's the online version of doing that. And so I think if we think of it that way for women, it takes away the feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm making the first move in a really masculine way. Because this is it's just like an invitation for conversation. It's saying, I'm not going to reject you or bite your head off if you write to me.
Right. And men are flattered when they get that, because they are used to initiating in life. And so it's nice when someone sends them an email, and they can check it out and go, oh, yes, sir. Yes, I'm interested, or no. And a lighter way of doing it, if they don't want to send an email, then you can indicate interest. On my site, it's like just a check mark where they know that you're interested in them. Or you save them as a favorite, and they get notified that you've saved them as a favorite. And that's like a very, if they're a little shy or maybe not quite ready to initiate the full email, then just do that as a tester. Or maybe, I've had sometimes people say, well, I think he's out of my league, or I'm not what he's looking for. So they'll save as a favorite, and then that's just a really light way. And that it's, if he doesn't respond or do anything, well, fine, then he's not interested. And it's an easy way out in a way. And if he does, then woohoo.
Yeah, woohoo. I love it. Okay, so this is another question women ask me a lot, which is, how many messages do you think we should exchange back and forth before a phone call or live meeting? That's the first part of this.
Okay. Okay. I was waiting for the second. So I would say there's no rules with that.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, whenever it feels time to do that, then do. It's like, yeah, I mean, ultimately, you don't want to go back and forth forever.
Right.
You don't want it to last a month. You want it to be fairly, a good clip, like maybe 3, 4, 5 back and forth, where you've gotten to know them pretty well enough that you've screened them out. Because I don't know about you, but I want to hear his voice. And ideally, right, if we're not close enough, proximity wise, but even talking on the phone first before meeting in person, I would always recommend that, because if you just go totally blind with just looking at pictures, well, and on my site, we do have videos. People can upload videos, and I highly recommend that, because that's huge to give people an idea of chemistry. If they can see your mannerisms and hear your voice is such a huge impact on chemistry. So, upload that video, just a short, sweet video. You can just say, hey, this is me, and hi. It doesn't even have to be like anything official. It could just be like a little short snippet of just you smiling and saying a few words like, hi, my name's Jill, and I'm looking forward to meeting you. It could be like, that's short and sweet.
Absolutely. And, I love this video concept, because I think it does give people a different flavor of you than just, the one-dimensional photograph kind of thing. And along with the phone call, with the technology we have these days, you can even do a video call. You can do Zoom like you and I are on right now, or you can do Skype where you can actually see each other. It's kind of like the old Ma Bell commercials that said it's the next best thing to being there, right? If you are like exploring something long distance, it's a way you can at least kind of start seeing if there's something there, as well as that phone call.
Exactly. And I always coach people, and I've written articles on this, when it's long distance in particular, that's what you do. That you date online, you date with video for as long as you need to before one travels to meet the other. Or in some cases, I've had both of them travel to meet like somewhere in the middle and have a romantic rendezvous weekend, assuming it goes well.
Exactly.
It usually does. After video chatting enough, it's like they have a really good sense of each other and, who each other is, and if they're attracted and they have commonalities and there's chemistry, because you get a pretty good idea of chemistry just from a video.
I think so too. A lot more than just a one-dimensional profile. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's say that there's a conversation going on online, and the woman is now feeling like, I'd really like to hear his voice, or I'd really like this to move now to that next level of, contact other than just exchanging messages. Do you have any suggestions on how they can invite that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like how to meet in person, like.
Well, yeah, just how to invite him to the next level. How do you get a guy to move from online to offline? And offline could officially mean at first it's a phone call, and then maybe it's a meeting.
Or a video if they're far
away.
Or
a video, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, you can just out and right say it, just, and you can just say, how do you feel about, rather than just overtly, hey, let's, do you want to do this? Or just say, you can always ask a question like, well, how do you feel about a phone conversation? Or you think we're ready to talk on the phone? That way you're giving him it's like a joint decision. Mm-hmm. And it's more of like an invitation, like, well, what do you think about this? Or how do you feel about this? Or, gosh, I'd love to hear your voice on the phone. Mm-hmm. That's like a nice way to do it. Or, man, I would love to see your, and you're typing at this point, I would love to be able to hear your voice and see you in a video chat. How do you feel about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that can be a flattering way to do it. You can say, I'm really enjoying our conversation and think it would be fun to hear your voice, or think it would be fun to see you on video, right? It's just,
Yeah,
it's like you're paying a compliment.
as opposed to, I really hope you're not a crazy. I got to see you.
Exactly.
Do it in a nice way.
Right, right. Exactly. I really hope you're not Freddy Krueger, right, in real life.
Exactly.
Exactly. So now here's a big one, Jill. This is a big one, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this. How do women protect themselves from false people or the fraudsters online? Because we've all heard about this, and I've talked to women over the years who unfortunately have been harmed by some of these characters out there.
Sure, and it happens. And it happens on all dating sites. They're called scammers. They have romance scams that they run. And oftentimes they're in these big, remember the old call centers, like, telemarketing call centers, and they would have big rooms and full of telephones and people calling, and they still do, right? It's like that happens. But imagine that, but a big room in some country, I won't mention any names, but some of these countries that are known for it, and they have these big computer centers, and this is their job. It's their full-time job, is to join dating sites and hook women or men and get money from them. That's their scam. And it's actually pretty easy to know and recognize them when you know some of the signs. And on my side, of course, I have a whole team that spends a lot of their time keeping the site clean of these scammers. And so they're less likely to find them on my site, but they still do happen. So number one is, if you think you might be talking to someone or emailing with someone who's a scammer, use the report a member option on my site, and my team will check them out and email the person back and let them know, yep, that's a scammer, or no, we can't find anything, any signs, looks okay to us. They'll tell you exactly what we find, so that they can relax and get to know them, or if it's a scammer, we delete them and, kick them off, and that's it. So, but scammer signs are important to know. So oftentimes they will be some kind of engineer. Oftentimes they'll be widowed. They'll usually be Christian or Catholic, which is a big red flag on my side, because most people are spiritual. They're like not religious. They'll have some sort of tie to Africa, usually, like, and their romance scam oftentimes involves them traveling, or sometimes they're in the diamond business, like diamonds and gems, like fine gems and stuff. And sometimes they'll say they're traveling and they, lost their wallet, or they've got this big deal. They're so obvious sometimes, like they've got this big deal, but such and such happened, whatever it is, some drama, or my mom got hurt and trying to get her in the hospital. And, they play off people's hearts and people's compassion, and they get them to send money. Or the common one is, oh yeah, I'm so in love with you. And they proclaim their love really fast, right away. Mm-hmm. They want to get you off the site right away. Talk on the site first, get to know them first, make sure, ask us if you're not sure. Or my team, I should say. I don't do that work. I used to do it all, but not anymore, thank goodness. And then just, feel them out. So they can, but the scam is, they love you, they want to marry you, they're going to fly to meet you. Usually something will come up right before they're supposed to buy the ticket, and they need you to send the money for the ticket, and then they're going to come and fly and marry you. Like, come on, ladies, we cannot fall for this stuff. And, it's like, have that confidence, that inner love and confidence, and know someone's got to meet you first before they're going to marry you, period. I don't care how wonderful you are. That's just dumb. In my opinion, it's just, you gotta meet first. So it's, there are obvious things when you know what to look for. When they write their essays, they made it really easy for us for a long time. Now they copy essays, and so sometimes the essays aren't such a giveaway because they'll copy really good essays that are like site appropriate for my site, and they'll use those. But if they don't, if they write them themselves, then there's going to be like a lot of words, and they'll have periods like where they shouldn't be, and also there's no spaces between the word and the period. They use God-fearing. That's used to be super easy to find them. They would all say, I'm a God-fearing person. And we'd be like, oh, scammer, oh, scammer. It was like a dead giveaway. So if you see that, 99% of the chance it's going to be a scammer. What else? Those are some of the main ones. I mean, there's, and it's not just their age range their age range preference can be inappropriate according to societal standards. I'm not one for like rules and regulations there, but these are just signs that my team looks for. And it's not necessarily just one thing on a profile. Like a perfectly normal, great guy may have an age range that's very broad because he's very open-minded, and that's great. So that alone isn't a scammer sign. But
Right.
if he has he's widowed, he's Catholic, he's has ties to Africa. Of course, on the back end, we can see their IPs. We can know, well, they say they live in Texas, but their IP is in Russia,
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. And a lot of times people use VPNs now, virtual private networks, and that can throw us off too, because it masks the real IP where they are, and it can show anywhere. So, and some legitimate members have that too. So we've just had to become much more sophisticated with our back-end tools, all the things we use to help us, and then just learning. My team they're masters at being able to recognize a scammer. Sometimes I'm not sure, and I'll email one of my guys like, hey, what do you think about this one? And they're like, yep, or nope. And of course we check their billing too. Like if their name that they write on their profile matches their billing information that they've used, because if they're a scammer, then they've stolen somebody's credit card and they use that credit card to join the site. So, which really sucks for us. And we refund the money, obviously, because that's somebody else's money. It's not their money. So we refund it to whoever's, credit card they stole, and we delete them off the site. So it's crazy business.
Yeah.
But we do all that on the back end so that our members don't have to worry about it. That's our goal, is that they don't come in contact with them. And like I said before, they're still on the site. They will sneak through. But if you notice you see any, then you just let us know and we'll get rid of them right away.
Yeah, and I think you've hit on some really key things here, Jill, because in speaking with women over the years who've had these kinds of experiences, some sadly who have been scammed by these characters, some of their operations can be pretty sophisticated. But I think you've hit on some really key things here, which, you've said some of the characteristics that are kind of common. But the couple of key things I just want to put the exclamation point on here that you said was, first of all, you have to remember that it takes time to actually establish a real relationship. And part of that is actually spending some time in real life together. And so some of these men, I've seen some of them will write these very flowery love letters when they haven't even, they don't even know you at all. And so, getting caught up in that, if you're lonely or if you haven't had, attention from someone for a while, some people can be vulnerable to that, but that is definitely something I wanted to put the exclamation point on. And then the other thing is just don't send money to someone like, through Western Union. A lot of times I think they request money through Western Union and those kinds of things. You just don't send money in that way to someone you don't know, and that, you don't have an established knowledge of who they actually are. You just don't send money to these people online.
Exactly. Those were really good points to underscore. And I ramble sometimes, so I appreciate you honing it in.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to put the emphasis on those things because I think this is really important. And I think it's heartbreaking when people get hurt and harmed by these kinds of scams. my husband worked for years for the Division of Securities in our state, and one of their responsibilities was to help beat back the Ponzi schemes and online fraudsters. And their top targets, these people's top targets were single women and seniors. And so I just think this is a really important point to really drive home, because we don't want to see you get harmed or hurt by these shady characters out there.
Right. And also not to let it stop them from dating or using online dating sites. Just be smart and savvy about it. Know the signs so you don't get scammed. It can suck. Like if you're talking to someone and all of a sudden you find out, but it's like, also know that if they are very complimentary and like so falling in love with you right away, and you're the one I've been waiting for, like instantly, and check their grammar. That's a huge sign.
Good
When they're actually writing messages, because oftentimes they'll copy and paste messages too. So if you ask them some very specific questions that they can't copy and paste the answers, that's a really good test. Because then if they, they'll be typing it themselves. And if they answer them, now if they don't answer the questions that you ask that are very specific, most likely they're a scammer. And then on the other side of the coin, if they do answer them, then watch their grammar. And usually it's pretty bad, like you can tell. And especially it'll be different from the other text that they've written you, because they've copied and pasted that stuff. But then when they're writing it themselves, you'll be able to see the difference. So that's actually probably one of the best ways to test it out and figure it out.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned those things, the grammar thing, and then asking them specific questions. Like if they're claiming to be from your local area, you can ask a question like, what are some of your favorite places or favorite things to do in this area? And if they're not really coming up with much, or you can tell it's real vague, that could be a little yellow flag.
Right. And something that they couldn't look up online is even better. Like, if I could look up, you live in, Virginia Beach, I could look up some restaurants there and tell you my favorite restaurant there without ever having been there. I could live in Africa, so ask them, questions that are so specific, maybe more spiritual, more conscious too, and about their area. So, get really specific with things like that.
Yeah. And I like your point about this is not to make you feel paranoid or afraid of using online dating, because it's a really great opportunity, but to be smart and to be wise and to take care of yourself in terms of, making sure you're checking someone out and getting to know them in what would be like a normal way. It takes time to establish a real relationship.
Right, because I think about all the success stories we've had, all the marriages over the years, and I think, wow, if someone was afraid to join the site and to make contact because they might meet a scammer, they would have missed out, and that's that would be sad. So, yeah, go for it. Just be smart.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's another question that I have women ask me. I just have a couple more I want to ask you, Jill. What ideas or suggestions do you have for women who maybe have tried online dating before? Because you hear this and I hear this, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I tried online dating, didn't work for me. Right, I tried it. It didn't work for me. What ideas or suggestions do you have for women that might feel that way?
Yeah. I tried the gym. It didn't work for me. Like, well,
I tried it too. I didn't go enough and it didn't work very well for me. Joining it on its own didn't take any pounds off of me, dang it.
It's not a magic pill. Right. So yeah, that's a short answer. The more in-depth one, right, would be, you got to use it, and you got to, and it's attitude and energy, right? Think law of attraction, think quantum field, think, quantum physics is really proving all the stuff that a lot of us have known for years, or at least believed for years, that, our thoughts and energy does attract. So if you're joining a site going, didn't work before, it's probably not going to work again. Well, guess what? It's probably not. So, it's all about that. Hey, this is going to work. I know it. And I'm grateful in advance. I'm excited. Let all the chips go, do your inner work, your inner growth, and find out maybe there's an inner emotional block that you've had. Maybe you need to, uncover something to feel worthy of meeting your true love. There's, my hypnotherapy, I put on that hypnotherapy hat that I did that for years. And a lot of core issues would stop people from getting what they want in their life in general. And so doing that deep inner work is important. Now, are we ever going to be completely done with it? No. So don't you don't have to be done with all the work to start. Just work on it. And even when you're dating and in relationships, stuff will come up. And it's important to really work through that and heal it, whichever manner. There's lots of techniques and manners. We don't have time to get into all that. And I'm not an expert on all the different ways, but there are lots of ways. So heal the core issues, be open, be excited, have the right attitude and energy, be grateful in advance before you start, and then put the time and the energy and the focus into it so that it will work. It's like anything else. If you have a goal to achieve something, then it takes a little time, energy, and focus. You can't just slap together some crappy profile and some crappy photo and hope it works and then hope people contact you. No, that's not it. You need to be proactive and contact those you want to meet. Don't sit around and wait for them to contact you. Take matters into your own hands and go for it. It works, and the men aren't afraid if you contact them first. So try that too.
Yeah, and I think I really resonate with what you're talking about, because I think if we speak into and think into what we want and not what we don't want,
yeah,
it's really powerful. We're actually creating something when we're thinking thoughts. And so if you want positive outcome, you need to be thinking in the direction of what you do want and what you want in your life and what you desire and what you want to bring in a positive way, rather than focusing on, oh boy, this is probably not going to work, because you're not going to put a lot of effort into it if you don't believe it's going to work, first of all. So there you're already putting yourself at a disadvantage. And I really do believe that what we focus on expands. So we want to focus into the direction of what we want.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So one last question, and then just for fun, I thought maybe you could show us, the beautiful place you're now living, since you mentioned that at the beginning.
Yeah, it's funny. A boat just went by. I was tempted to turn the camera around.
Oh. Well, we maybe missed the boat, but we can still see the water in a minute, right?
Oh, sure, of course.
So this question is, are there any trends you see in the online dating world from your perspective? Any new trends?
Yeah, it's interesting because my site being more relationship oriented and more old school, if you will, where we leave, it's in the members' hands, like I was mentioning earlier, of filters and who they want to meet. That is actually starting to become more popular again, because obviously people are tired of the hookups, and it's just like, if you're going to go have a bunch of one-night stands, that gets old. Mm-hmm. So I think society in general have gone through, the tenders and the, just superficial stuff, and they want something deeper. They want something more meaningful and real. And so that's good for sites like mine that are more substantial and help people find their true loves or their life partners. I've definitely seen that as a trend. Apps obviously are a big trend. We don't have an app yet. It's something we've been, needing to do for a while. Technology changes so fast. In 20 years, we've had several iterations of the site. And it takes a lot of behind the scenes work to, especially with a site as robust as mine, with so many, a lot of members, but it's the robustness of the actual site that we have so much that we offer, like the matchmaker questions, the match questions, the essays, just a lot of details there that a lot of the sites are so much more simple. But we like to give people a lot of tools to meet somebody. So trends, that would be probably the biggest trend, that people are looking for more genuine these days, more real. I'm sure there's probably others, but I don't really do a lot of research on all that. I just listen to my members and what they want, what they need, and customize the site as best I can to meet their needs.
Yeah, well, and I think one huge trend is, online dating has gone from, not only being mainstream, but being used by more and more and more people. The percentage of single people that are now using online dating as part of their ways to meet people it continues to go up. It continues to go up and up and up.
Well, sure. When I started this 20 years ago, there was a stigma around online dating, and which I never understood. I'm like, this is so efficient. I want one of you. It's like going shopping.
Right.
Right. So I never understood it, but there was, and I don't think there's that stigma at all anymore. I don't think people are embarrassed or shy about dating online or meeting someone online. I think it's so common now that it's just more matter of fact, like, well, which site did you meet him on? Or which app did you meet him on? More than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So Jill, tell us just for a second about your new home, and then maybe give us a little shot if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, I've been taking groups down to St. Croix, which is in the U.S. Virgin Islands in the Caribbean, for a scuba trip, which I had been doing, chartering the same boat in Bimini for wild dolphin swim retreats for years. And then the boat started going to St. Croix, and I'm like, I always wanted to try St. Croix and go diving there. I'm a diver. And so I started doing trips to St. Croix, two of them, two before I moved here. And I'd been living up in the mountains in Mount Shasta for the last 11 years. And I love the mountains. I love Mount Shasta, the energy, the vibe. It's amazing there, super powerful. But I missed the ocean. I really did. I just missed being in the ocean. I miss swimming in the ocean every day. I have a really heart connection with the ocean, dolphins, whales, that I was just decided it was time. And I felt St. Croix calling me. I think it had to do also with Atlantis being somewhere around here, and Lemuria being in Mount Shasta, and, not to get too crazy spiritual, but, something about Atlantis and Lemuria combining, and me bringing that energy here. So that feels destined and meant to be. So, and I didn't think I could even, it's kind of personal, but I didn't think I could qualify for the house that I ended up buying because I just didn't think I could. But I got a really good loan rep, and she did some magic. And now I'm living oceanfront in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that's my view. I feel like I'm on a boat. Like if I'm sitting a little further back in the living room, and even here, I can't really barely see the shore, because I am right on the water. I've got two houses. That one over there is the bigger one. I'm going to rent that out. And then this is my side, which is just a little, like a little 1-bedroom studio, a little big studio. And it's just very wonderful to be right on the water. And
so beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, and I'm really loving it. It's just, it's been a lot of work getting the rental ready, but it's about there, and I'm about ready to rent it out, and it'll pay the mortgage even. So pretty thrilled about that.
That is amazing. That's so great. Thank you for sharing that little glimpse into your personal journey. That's so fun and so exciting for you.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like I'd gotten really settled in Mount Shasta, lots of friends and community, and my sister moved there, and it was very comfortable and easy in a way, and status quo for me. And so to uproot and sell my house there and bring my dogs. I mean, my friend Bonnie and I we drove across the country in an RV, and then we flew in a private plane, a little twin engine plane from Fort Lauderdale over. I mean, it was like a 10-day trip to get here. And that was after packing. I mean, so uprooting my whole life. And I mean, if anything, I would encourage people to not, stay in their status quo. Like if you're feeling guided to do something or change or make a move, then do it. Like just go for it. Because, you can always move back, whatever. I mean, this is a big move, obviously, and I'll be here for a little while, I would imagine. But I'm always open to where I'm guided to go. And I could have let fear stop me. I mean, there were so many times when it was so hard. Like I was working so hard to just get rid of like 90% of my stuff, but back at my 8.5 acres and, years of accumulating stuff, and it was a pain in the ass. It was really hard, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And I can't believe I'm living right here in the Caribbean on the ocean. It's amazing.
So Jill, I want to thank you so much for being so generous with everything you've shared with us today. I think this is really going to help a lot of people.
Thank you, Michelle. I really appreciate it. And I think we did touch on some really good points. And I really appreciate you having me on your summit, because it's, you are such a good interviewer, and I know you bring out such great points for so many people with your guests. So thank you for doing this. I think it's a real benefit to a lot of women.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it, and appreciate your partnership and support here. And for all of you out there listening, we want to also thank you for your presence. We know you have busy lives and a lot going on, and the fact that you're here speaks so highly of you, that you're dedicated to having an amazing life and amazing love. And so we honor you for your presence as well. So take good care, and bye-bye for now.